Is it true that you become what you think about? Well, I wasn't a coach just 1 year ago, but now I've had a 7-figure entrepreneur pay me thousands of dollars for my coaching services. So that's an interesting one for me personally. Earl Nightingale famously said, "You become what you think about." Neville Goddard said, "Imagination creates reality." The Bible says, "As within, so without." So for the duration of this video, I need you to leave the distraction for once. And I need you to answer this question for me, okay? Here we go. Here's the question. Do you know what you're thinking about? Do you know what you're thinking about? Because I get that you become what you think about. It might sound overly simplistic, like what? It can't be that simple. But you want to know what I learned by getting into this work? We don't know what we're thinking about. The modern mind is so overstimulated, we don't actually know what it is we're thinking about. There's too much going on in there. It's like a hoarder's house. We're consuming more thoughts, anxiety, overstimulation, consumption. There's so many thoughts going on in here. It's like a hoarder's house. We have too many thoughts. Like we don't even know what we have in there. Okay? So this is an interesting one. And it isn't hard to see, right? If we just take a step back for the moment. The modern person is overstimulated, is anxious, is fearful, depressed, restless. So this is our life experience. As within, so without. These thoughts, these feelings reflect in our relationships. They reflect in our work. They reflect in our external world, in our life experience. We don't actually know what we're thinking about. So what do we do about this? What do we do about this? Because with these things, you'll find that most people will call bullshit. Most people will call it cheesy, cringy, too simple, and move on. But you want to know what? It takes a true scientist to quietly take information back to the lab and run an experiment to verify. So those are the people who I'm speaking to in this video. I'm speaking to the true scientists who can take information at base form, take it back to the lab, and run an experiment on their own to verify. To verify if there's any truth to it. Okay? You become what you think about. So, we don't actually know what we're thinking about. We're overstimulated. There's too many thoughts. What do we do about this, and how can we run an experiment for ourselves? Okay? So there's 2 steps here. 2 steps to run this experiment. Okay? Step 1 is to become aware of your thoughts. And this is half the battle. This is a big achievement. Become aware of your thoughts. So throughout your day, and it doesn't get much easier than this, okay? Throughout your day, you notice where your mind goes. You notice the thoughts, beliefs, inner stories that circulate in your mind. You become aware of this program that's running on repeat. On repeat. It just runs in the background. You notice the thoughts that sprout up in your mind. And you notice the feelings associated with those thoughts. More importantly, the feelings. So as your mind ventures into the past and ventures into the future, you notice just where it goes. And you notice the routine, the habit, the thinking patterns, okay? And when you do this, you'll most likely find thoughts of fear, worry, uncertainty, less than, not enough. You'll find these thoughts, beliefs, and inner stories circulating in your mind. So you become aware of these thoughts and feelings that you're planting into the subconscious to take form out here. As within, so without. You become aware of the thoughts that you're planting into the subconscious, the things you're consenting to being true that take form out here. Because the things that you're consenting to being true, that's what's being planted into the subconscious. The subconscious mind doesn't care. It just takes what you give it. It takes what you're consenting to being true. Like, yep, you're right. That's the subconscious mind. Yep. Correct. You're right. No, you're right. Yep. So it goes for fear. It goes for worry. It goes for abundance, creativity. Subconscious is like, yep. And as within, so without. These are the seeds you plant into the subconscious mind, so that's what grows and takes form out here. So step 1, become aware of these thoughts, beliefs, and inner stories that's circulated in your mind, and become aware of the feelings associated with them. Become aware of what you are consenting to being true. Okay? Very important step. Now, step 2, and I love this analogy. Step 2, you become like a gardener. You become like a gardener. The mind is your garden, and you are the gardener. Okay? And you just acknowledge the environment of your mind as it stands. The results you've gotten up until this point, the environment of your mind, the plants that you have. You became aware of the thoughts, beliefs, and inner stories, these seeds that you've planted, and you become aware of the garden as a result of that. Okay? And now, by becoming aware of the crop, the plants in your garden, you're going to go through and you start to pluck out the old. You pluck out the old thoughts, beliefs, and inner stories. You pluck out the old things that you're consenting to being true. And you go in and you plant in the new. You plant in the new seeds, the new thoughts, beliefs, inner stories, and feelings. And you go through your mind like this, like a garden. You do this on a daily basis. Throughout your day, you can do this. And it's even better if you have a meditation practice to do this. So you go through and you pluck out the old, you plant the new, pluck out the old, plant the new. And you become like a gardener in this way. And as you go through, of course, the plants of the old are still going to sprout up once in a while. They're still going to reflect in your life. Of course, these are seeds, old seeds that you've been planting for years, right? So don't get discouraged when things pop up, things sprout into your life of the old, of the fear, the worry. That's okay. But you plant these new seeds of abundance, of creativity, of peace, prosperity. You plant those seeds and the feelings associated with that. You consent to those things being true. So like I said, the subconscious just receives that, like, yep. You plant it in the subconscious soil. You plant it into the subconscious soil. And it takes what you consent to being true. Like, yep, you're right. You're right. And what's going to happen as you go along and you pluck out the old, you plant the new, you pluck out the old, plant the new, you're going to reach a point, a very important point, where the good, the new, overgrows the old. You're going to reach a point where the good overgrows the old. And that's where you create some major waves in your reality. That's where you create major waves from an internal and external perspective. As within, so without. By the way, if you've made it to this point in the video, go ahead down below and comment eggs. Okay? eggs, huevos in Espanol, eggs. I just want to see who's actually watching until this point, right? So go ahead, comment eggs. I want to shout you out, okay? I hope you're enjoying this. So, we've had the 2 steps. We've had become aware of your thoughts, and then you become like a gardener, okay? You become what you think about. You go through, you become aware of these thoughts, the plants that are in your garden, and then you go out and you become like a gardener and you pluck out the old thoughts, beliefs, and inner stories, you plant in the new thoughts, beliefs, and inner stories, and you go about this tending to your garden on a daily basis. This is how you run the experiment, okay? This is how you run the experiment for yourself. Nothing I say is going to trump your own personal experience. So like I said, it's very easy when we talk about these topics of energy, frequency, vibration, manifestation, you become what you think about. It's very easy to write it off and move on. It takes a true scientist to take the information quietly back to their lab and run an experiment on their own. That's who I'm speaking to here. It's about your own personal experience.